I want to give the floor to my fellow councilman, Glen Fleming, to say a few words.
In May of 2020, and a political act of retribution was launched against me in the form of litigation, which a vicious lie was told in order to slander my character. At the time, it was determined that the litigation against me was within the scope of my position as a councilman, so that made me eligible to be defended by the Joint Insurance Fund. I was given a counsel not of my choosing, but as the case proceeded, my counsel informed me that he would explore all options that would be presented to me. It was then, at that point during the litigation process, that the scope of the case changed, and it was determined that I was now being litigated against as a private citizen and not as a council person. So it was determined that my legal fees would no longer be covered by the Joint Insurance Fund. It was also during this time that communication between myself and my soon-to-be former counsel began to break down due to several factors. It was also during that time that I was presented with a monetary figure to settle the case out of court, which was within my legal options. After considering all options, I decided to go to trial. I had never signed on to any settlement at any time. Recently, a judgment was entered against me on a motion made by the plaintiff's counsel due to a technicality. And I just wanted to say that this case is not over and it will be adjudicated in due time, place to be determined. So accordingly, I'll no longer be commenting on this. But for the record, I would like to say I've been serving this community since I first worked my first election over 46 years ago. I've been working in a female-dominated field for the past 35 years. I've also run a mentor group, which over 6,000 students have been graduated from, with over 3,000 students, or half of them are females. And I've never been accused of anything. But because I've had the temerity to want to serve my community, because others are not able to prevail against us electorally, they're one thing that those that feel that they can use the one racist trope that have been used against black men for decades, that we are unable to control our sexual urges and that we have to resort to sexual crimes. In the past, they were able to lynch us from the nearest tree without even a hint of a trial. And even though times have changed, the methods have not, except now it comes in the form of an unequal justice system. And in conclusion, I want to say emphatically that I've never, under any circumstances, committed any inappropriate act against anyone at any time, and in due time, all this will be revealed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. And just for the record, this council will not make any comments, any further comments, or any regarding the matter, Councilman Fleming.
I don't appreciate what Councilman Fleming said, because you didn't add me to the accolades of the things that you do, and I felt like offended. Like, you know, I was just but my question too is also like, what do because he's not being represented, the city's not paying for his council, right? He's representing himself, right?
Not to the best of my knowledge. But go ahead, Mr.
What is the technicality? Why is he representing himself?
I am not at liberty to discuss that. That's Mr. Fleming's personal matter, so I'm not going to ask, this council is not going to talk about that. But go ahead with your comment.
Does he have to run 3 children over on Douglas Avenue?
I want to be clear, I do have copies of the order filed September 27th, 2024 by Judge Patrick Bradshaw, and it says, Defendant Glen J. Fleming Sr. Be and hereby is adjudicated in default of the settlement agreement entered into on March 6, 2023 in the above entitled matter. Judgment be and hereby is entered against Defendant Glen J. Fleming Sr. and in favor of plaintiff in the amount of $15,000. So this is an order from the court ordering Mr. Fleming to pay his accuser $15,000. And while I'm glad he addressed it tonight, I think the way he addressed it was irresponsible and wholly insufficient. May I ask, who made the determination that this complaint fell under his role as a councilman?
We're not going to have, as I said before, we're not going to make any more comments in the case of Mr. Fleming, Councilman Fleming.
Okay, well, I'm very disappointed because I'm sure you read my email. I sent you an email about this. I'm sure you've received it. Anybody who checked their email on the council, I sent you each an email about this. And I included the bills. So the Middlesex County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund spent $44,976.70 representing Glen Fleming in this sexual harassment lawsuit that we came to find out had nothing to do with his role on this council. Why was any public money spent on Mr. Fleming's defense? Who made that determination to forward this matter to the JIF? That's a fair question. It's our money. Why was any of it spent on this case?
Anything else?
I'd like an answer to my question.
I'm not going to make any comment at this time.
Why not? Why don't you think we deserve an answer as to why this city authorized legal defense for Mr. Fleming's personal sexual harassment case? I think this was an injustice, and I think that somebody needs to get to the bottom of it. And if we can't do it internally here in the city of New Brunswick, we'll have to get higher-ups to look into this, because this is really inappropriate. I mean, talk about unethical. To use your position to get a free lawyer and then complain about the lawyer when you have an order against you and say that you're not, you're going to have your day in court. Mr. Fleming, this isn't good enough. This has been 4 years.
That's his time. Your time is up, Mr. Fleming.
Okay, we deserve so much better, and I do have copies for anyone here documenting the meeting. If you want copies of these documents, please see.
Anybody?
I never thought I'd follow up on a Charlie Prattville comment, because I really do think he operates in large part out of malice and being vindictive and making attacks personal. But he mentioned something that flies in the face of Glen Fleming's statement tonight, and that was that there was a settlement on his case in March of 2023. Yet Glen Fleming said that there was a recent settlement. And so from March of 2023 till now was almost 18 months. And I sat here almost all last year listening to some of this nonsense, and Mr. Fleming remaining silent, which was his right. And so be it. But to lie today that there was a recent settlement, when what really apparently happened, according to Charlie, is that there was an order more than a year and a half ago that for whatever reason he refused to pay or advise anybody about. And then recently there was another order that sort of compelled him to pay. Yet he stands on the soapbox today trying to let us know he's a victim. What he really is a charlatan, largely a mute, that has not spoken once in the last 2 years on anything of substance, and then comes out to rant today that he was somehow mistreated. I would suggest that the council hold him in some way accountable for that deception that he put out on you guys, just based on what I heard tonight, that he remove himself from the ballot in 3 weeks and allow the council to find somebody that actually produces or contributes something to the city in a way that's meaningful. Because he can obviously speak. I think he's a teacher, and he did good speaking tonight, but I agree with absolutely nothing about how the way he presented it. So that's my comment on Glen Fleming, and I hope that the council comes up with an ordinance or a resolution or an action to somehow hold him accountable for his deception.